Four P's. Tom talked about the 4 P's of marketing, 5 P's, 7 P's. There's a film years ago called Freddie Got Fingered. If anyone sees it, there's a guy called the 8-second abs. It's not what you think for some of you. Get your mind out the gutter. Okay? 8-second abs. He said, I've got a great idea. I'm going to do the 7-second abs. Then the 6, 4 P's, 5 P's, 7 P's, whatever. Okay? 4 P's of organisational performance that I talk about quite simply. Purpose, parameters, process and procedures, and people. People being the key, but they come at the end of this one, how and why. So purpose. See a picture on the screen there? Have I got a laser pointer? Laser, it doesn't work on a screen, doesn't it? No, there you go. I'll use my big chubby fingers. See that really handsome chap at the back here, upside down looking backwards, and that's me. Okay? That's me on Salisbury Plain. We're landing 100-foot long aircraft with 6 wheels. Yeah, there's 6. There's only 4. There's 2 on each stanchion at the front, and then the 2 at the back. We're landing that on a tank track berm, about yay wide, okay? The guys and girls in the front, the drivers, we like to call them drivers, they hate it. Just drive, shut up and drive. Take us to where we need to be to do our job. They've no idea what's going on beneath the aircraft. All they're looking at is a marker in the front and a marker to the left, or a marker to the front on the right, just watching that, listening to me and my West Country droll, talking them by foot, by metre. We go laterally in metres, height in feet. Why not add confusion, okay? By changing the metrics, good idea. The point of that, why are we doing this? Why are we landing the wheels on a beam? I'll take you to Afghanistan. In July 2009, we picked up some Polish special forces. They were bigger and hairier than me, okay? And that's quite sensitive. I had this trimmed yesterday. If I don't, this grows up here and it grows down here. There's nothing up here, but everything else is weird, isn't it? These guys are monsters. We had 2 aircraft. We launched at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and put them into southern Kandahar. Kandahar, if you know Afghanistan, is a Taliban stronghold. It was a very, very dangerous mission. We anticipated losing at least one of the aircraft, if not both. We managed to get them in. The idea was we were going to sit and wait. We went back to the airfield, we waited. For 7 hours we waited. 47-degree heat, we were wearing body armour, we did take it off, don't worry, but we had to wait, because as soon as that call came in, we had to go and get them, regardless of where they were. We had no comms with them at the time, no communication. We didn't know what was going on, how they're getting on. We get one call with a grid reference, launch now, with an estimated time of arrival. Our ETA for them was 7 minutes. That was to get the aircraft up, spooled, launched, and get to them. They landed, wrong, we landed to pick them up on the side of a mountain. They were 2,500 feet up in the air. Now for context, we're about sea level here. The air's fairly normal. You think at 2,000–3,000 feet above sea level, which is ground level for Afghanistan, the air's quite thin anyway. So when you're walking around, when you first get out there, you can quite easily get out of breath. Now they're 2,000 feet up on the side of a hill, carrying ammunition, kit, various stuff that they've taken from the Taliban and secured various buildings. They have yomped and smashed at them 47-degree heat, but the problem is, the area they landed on, we couldn't get all 6 wheels on. So we could only land our aft wheels on. We couldn't even land the 2 aft wheels on, we could land 1 wheel on. I'm the number 2 crewman on this aircraft, not this one, I'm number 1 here at the back. With the Polish pickup, I was in the front door, looking out the window. 2,000-foot drop, watching. We had miniguns fitted to the side, because people didn't like us being there, and they let us know. We had to try and hold ourselves back. Down the back was a number 1 crewman, a gentleman called Bob Ruffles, legend. I think he turns 60 next year, still on Chinooks, MBE service to 2 aircraft. He's pulling these Polish guys in. They're pulling in, and they're weighing easily 30 stone, probably. Massive, massive guys with muscle and that. We're getting shot at all sorts. That is why we were doing that. We had our purpose. We knew why we were practicing this. We didn't do it for shits and gigs. We didn't do it because it looks cool. We can take photographs of it. We knew why we were doing it. The next one I talk about is parameters. Our roles and responsibilities. You saw in the aircraft, 4 of us in a crew. Everyone knew what their role and responsibility was. You had a handling pilot and a non-handling pilot. We used to have pilot and nav. Nav was just a sandbag. They were pointless. They were telling the pilot where to go. The system does that. We have crewmen in the back. We can navigate. So actually, you don't need another pilot, navigator. What we have is 2 pilots in the front now. One's handling, doing the stick waggling. The other one is navigating, or their mission command, their mission control. They're talking on the radios. The number 2 crewman is working the kit in the aircraft, operating the self-defense equipment if needs be, monitoring the equipment inside what's going on. Also navigating as support, depending on if you're a 2-ship or not, to use the hands in the bar. Everyone knew, number 1 crewman down the back is monitoring the aircraft systems. We're effectively an onboard engineer. we're watching what we call T's and P's, temperatures and pressures. We got called, this is going to July 2012, we get a phone call to carry out what's called National Standby Task. We were told at 1 hour's notice to move. The highest peacetime priority in the UK for an aircraft. We were 1 hour from the call coming in to launching an aircraft, regardless of what it is. Think back to July 2007, remember the 7/7 bombings? Yeah, the guys were airborne, went and picked up the PM and took him. Tony Blair at the time had been PM for about a month or so, I think it was, took him from Chequers into London. We all knew what we needed to do. On the National Standby, we knew exactly where we were going, what we were doing, how. We knew our roles and responsibilities. Everyone knew that. We knew our swim lanes because we had accountability, not culpability, but if I'm doing something, I'm thinking, does that need to be doing? Somebody else has got that, I know that. So when the shit hit the fan, somebody else knew what they're doing, and I knew that that was being done. And if it didn't, we could talk about it afterwards. We'd get it done and make it happen. Those parameters, the roles and responsibilities of where we were, what our lanes were, that's not a get out of my lane, but we knew what was going on there. The next one we talk about is process and procedures. So we knew why we were doing it, we knew what we were doing, then we need to know how. That National Standby shout, July 2012, think of then, the Olympics was going on at the time, okay? So we had 2 National Standby aircraft. We had one supporting Op Olympics, originally named, you like that, didn't you? Somebody got promoted for that as well, probably, okay? The second aircraft was still the peacetime. We had a call come in. There's a young child, he was 8 years old, he suffered a traumatic brain injury. He was in London at the time. He needed to get to Newcastle. The quickest way to get him there was in a shaking shitting Chinook helicopter that vibrates and goes pretty slowly in the context, but it goes in a straight line. We got a call. Within 52 minutes, we were heading into London. We'd landed at Great Ormond Street on the helicopter pad. We couldn't actually get on the pad, we had to land nearby because again, we couldn't fit all 6 wheels on. We got that boy to Newcastle, we had a specialist neurosurgeon there who could operate. That boy survived because of that. Because we had our process and procedures in place. We knew exactly what we were doing. Every single one of us on that crew. We built capacity into our thinking. We weren't panicking like, who's got this? What do we do? How do we get there? There. It's laid down. But it had been practiced time and time again. It had been tested. It wasn't just a set of TORs. It wasn't just references. Here's your job description, off you go. It had been checked. It had been tested. It had been challenged. It needed to be constantly looked at because things change. We knew what we were doing. We knew why we were doing it. And we knew how we were doing it. And the last one, the last P that I talk about is the people. You can have the most amazing people, but if you don't have the purpose, they don't know why they're doing it, they don't know what they're doing, the roles and responsibilities, the parameters, they don't know how they're doing it, the process and procedures, the rest of it's ineffective. They might struggle on, they might get through. You might say, well, actually, no, they did really well. Outcome bias, brilliant, wonderful. Thousands of biases, confirmation, outcome, hindsight. If you want me to bore the pants off you all day later on about them, what do they mean? But just saying because it went well, why did it go well? This is where the accountability comes in. And the people is where we come in with Cobalt Human Solutions. We look at the people. The people are the most important aspect, but you need to give them the support. Don't set them up to fail. You need accountability, you need integrity. Those 2 things within the teamwork will build the trust. Within that trust will then build everything else around. Taking back to marketing and sales, I always say sales and marketing, it's the same thing. Room full of marketers, wow, really, okay, yeah. You've got to have that trust. It's the same no matter what you do. If you don't have that integrity and accountability, hold yourselves and others to account, you're setting yourselves and them up to fail. That is why we do 4 Ps. What does it mean? Okay, quite simply, poorly communicated aims will cost you money and reputation. I'm not going to read off your screen, okay? Do your people, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? What is your why? What is their why? Are they aligned? If they're not, you're pushing the proverbial uphill, shall we say. Does everyone know who's responsible for what? We talk about accountability, culpability, 2 very distinct things. If I'm leader of a project and it goes wrong, I'm accountable. That's not to say I'm culpable, but I'm to blame. That comes later. Blame doesn't come later. What went wrong? First off, how do we fix it? Can we fix it? Then we look at what went wrong. That's accountability. That's stepping up and saying, do you know what? This is me. I need to take control of this and work out what went wrong. What went right? We always look at what went wrong. Negative. We love that negative emotion, the despair that Eleanor talked about, or that Charlie talked about, those emotions are in, yeah? What went wrong? What about what went right? Why did it go well? Was it by the grace of God? Was it by luck? Or was it because we knew why we were doing it? It's because we knew what we needed to do. We knew how to do it. They're the key bits there. Do you have the right procedures in place? Yeah, it's all written down, the procedures laid down. When was that last checked? 1994. It's all right. I won't tell you a story about the Air Force, but I will. They brought a new aircraft into service about 9 years ago. They rewrote the procedures. Brilliant, excellent, yeah, happy days, got it in through. It was a military and civilian contract, joint contract, wrote the new procedures, everything's wonderful. Somebody picked up and said, hang on, you've got a picture of a turbine aircraft here, which was with propellers. This one's a jet engine. Oh yeah. This is thousands of documents been published, printed, procedures all done, adapted, rewritten. They hadn't, but they've been bastardised badly with new photographs in there, but they hadn't changed the procedures in there, okay? How do you know they're fit for purpose? It's usually when things have gone wrong. That's when you find out. That's not the time to find out, ladies and gents. And the last bit is the culture. Does the culture align with your strategy and intent? You're a business owner, or you're working within a business, how happy are you within your environment, your culture? You're not going to change it overnight, but can you ask those relevant questions? Can you say, not sure about this, have we considered a different way? Are you able to appropriately challenge? Have you got that trust within your business, whether there's 2 of you or 200? Whether you're running it, or whether you are the, I don't want to say the lowest person, because that hierarchy straight away, as soon as you put a hierarchy in, that becomes a challenge, okay? Is everyone on the right page? Do you have a purpose? Do you have a why? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know how you're doing it? And do you have the right people to do it? Those questions need to be asked. Because if you don't, you end up with £6 million worth of damage to an aircraft after 2 sets of wires have gone through. This was when we had the investigation, which happened 2 days later, because that night we got picked up from Wales, we went straight to London. We went out for a couple of beers to relax and unwind, and we weren't fit to answer any questions the next day. The next day, we all gave a full account of what happened, what we saw, what happened, the reasons why. There were challenges. Why were we doing it? The purpose was we were under pressure to get somewhere. We'd put ourselves under pressure and the external pressure. It's a goal conflict, if you like. What we were doing, there was questions at a time. Hand-to-go navigation, eyes in, eyes out. Somebody called wires at the very last second. And as they called wires, they pulled the lever back and up. And as you did, the nose went up and right, and the aircraft pitched up high. Had they not, the wires would have gone through the windscreen here. And I wouldn't be telling you this story today. So thankfully, somebody had the wherewithal. That person picked up the wires call. How do we do it? What we were doing? Again, we all knew. But the people, we had 6 on board that trained and experienced. We had somebody who was picking out why. We could talk about it afterwards the next day and say, do you know what? It's not about blaming what happened. What happened, not who. That is why we at Cobalt do what we do. What do? We increase your retention, we increase your resilience, we increase your performance. And we do that by engaging with you, targeted training solutions based on human factors. What do we actually do? We come in, we work with you. You and your teams, whether you're 2, 1, just you, or 200, doesn't matter. We sit down with you and your teams to come out and recognise what the challenges are, identify the causal factors for them, and then we help prevent anything going wrong. We also help your teams identify the challenges they didn't even know they had. We're not a consultancy who come in and said, here you go, these are problems, there's a check, please. We also don't come in and say, here's your problems, here's how to fix them, we'll do a trades training, check please. We come in and ask you. So if you've got 2 or 10 people in there, they have more experience and knowledge than I have about their business, about your business. Your people and you are the solutions. That's why we do. So your 4 Ps of marketing today, here's 4 Ps of strategic leadership and organisational performance. Why? Think about their purpose. Think about the parameters. Think about the process and procedures, then get the right people in place. I've overrun. Big red sign says time's up. If only there was somebody this morning who could have said, you need to make sure you're on time, and that'd be really awkward, wouldn't it? Ladies and gents, that's nothing else from me. Does anyone have any questions? Anything I've talked about? Deathly silence. So the really good brief, or people just have no idea what I've just talked about. Either way, thank you for your time. Thank you very much.